Hi, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Metaphysical Insights. I'm William Becker, and I have the one and only lovely Vivien Powell with me today, live from Queen Boudica's realm in England. I have to warn you, Vivien's a good friend. It's more like brothers and sisters from different misters. So um, it can, the show can get kind of crazy. I guess is one way to look at it today. So welcome, Vivien, and thank you for staying up. And it's what, 10 o'clock your time?
It's about that, yeah.
Yeah, great. I do things kind of just as a conversation, and you know me, how I jump around and stuff. Oh, and Jamie Parker says, hello, guys. Hi, Jamie. And
Hi, Jamie.
we have this wonderful thing when people write in, I can click on it and it'll show and then go away.
And I need to send Jamie lots of love because he's recovering from COVID-19. He did catch the virus, so I just was like, get well soon, Jamie.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm sorry, I didn't know about that. And Paul Mold is on the line, or showing too. So that's
Hi, Paul.
great. It's great to see you guys. And I'll try, if people have questions, I'll try to catch them on the side here. I'm host and moderator, so forgive me if I don't catch them all. But I would like to go back to a very, he said, thank you, Viv, love you. And Jamie did. And to your early years, because you had a little bit different background than most of us think about with European, living in Europe or the States. You lived in India and in Egypt and all kinds of places, and your grandfather was a rather notable Sikh, wasn't he?
He was, yeah. For those people that don't know, I am half... Oh, God, this feedback on it. Let me just take these out. Come on. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. I wasn't getting feedback, but if you were.
So, some people don't know that I'm actually half Indian, and my grandfather on my dad's side is Sikh, and on my mother's side is English. They're no longer together, but when I was younger, I lived in India for a little while, and I also lived in Egypt, in Cairo, for a while, and when I was very, very small. So, yeah, that's my background. So, the Sikh side, it's really weird because the Sikhs don't really normally, the older Sikhs, let's say, don't like Muslims, but Muslims married into the family. So that's how we've got the Egyptian sort of connection. It's quite weird, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Now, was there, the Sikhs have a very spiritual path, I know. It's a religion unto itself. I think is it part of Hindi or Hinduism?
Not really. The Hindis are a little bit different from the Sikhs, but they are still very spiritual. They go to the gurdwaras, the temples, and they do a lot of praying and sitting quiet and meditating and that sort of thing. So, yeah, they are a spiritual people in itself, but it's a little bit different from the Hindis, where they have a lot of gods, where the Sikhs don't really. They have the one, and they have prophets and things like that as well, but they have the one god that they believe in, and yeah, it's a little bit different, but very similar to normal Christianity, really, I suppose, in a way.
Yeah. Now, I would be interesting because of that. How did you learn anything in a metaphysical way that's maybe helped shape you and be part of you now?
I remember when I was younger, and of course I would be running around like a lunatic with my cousins over in India, and my granddad actually taught me how to meditate. Now, my granddad, he was quite old. He was an older man, and but because we were running around the house like lunatics, he just wanted peace and quiet. So he got us to sit down quietly, and he would say, "Shut your eyes," and he would, talk us about teaching us about slowing down our breathing, and then he would say, "Listen to my voice. I'm going to tell you a story." And then we would listen to this story, and he would tell us to see the pictures in our mind's eye. So as we're reading a storybook and seeing the pictures in a storybook, we were seeing the pictures in our mind, and my granddad would be making this story up. So from the age of 4, I would say I was being taught the basics of meditation. So without knowing it, my granddad was teaching me how to meditate. And then, it became a regular thing where we would sit down with granddad and say to us, "Tell us one of your magical stories." And that's how it started. The meditation route for me was with my granddad.
Oh, I love it. That's beautiful. And it makes sense as to why you do such a good job with guided meditation today, because being able to, it's quite a skill to be able to pace it and have the right tone of voice, have the story in a way that it can come out to people with giving them what they need and not being too complicated. We've got lots of people saying hi. Sharon and Bradford and Susie, my sister, and Simply Spooky, and Lucy Albrington. I'm sorry, Lucy, I just butchered your last name. And Jackson Harris and Jamie says, that ring a bell, Viv. And so it's great. Now, I told you I jump around a little bit. So going from the early years of Vivien and her early experiences really with spirituality, I just think, India is a place I've always wanted to go, partly because of it's been a cradle of so many different, deeply spiritual traditions.
And they also have their haunted buildings. There's forts. The British were over there and building forts and things, and there's a lot of death things surrounded around these forts. You've got temples. It depends on what parts of India you want to go to. There's so much to see and do. But if you do go to India, I would say, go and see some of the wonders of India. Go and see the Taj Mahal. Go and see the Golden Temple. If you can get up to the northern parts of India, which is a little bit different from where my family are from, but I would say go and do these jungle treks, go looking for the tigers and things like that. Go and sit on the rivers of the Ganges and see how disgusting that place really is. Because people say that, you see it on the TV and on the travel shows and it looks absolutely wonderful. It's disgusting, it's dirty. And don't forget, people are taking their deceased loved ones there and they're burning them. The smell is... well, you can only imagine. It is a very spiritual and sacred place, but it is also very dirty. So you have to take all these, these things into mind. And it's still a third world country. Even though India is a rich place now, there is still a lot of poor and it is still recovering. So you've got to get your head around the idea of begging on the streets and things like that. Some of it is even run by gangs and stuff like that. So not all India is not all what it seems, but it is a beautiful place at the same time. So
yeah, it's a magical place with a dark underside as well, and it has
everywhere
and awful snakes, but there's just so much there that I'd like to see in history too. India has a very old cultures, and they had independent kingdoms and principalities that were fighting and joining and merging for 3,000-4,000 years, a long time before the British came, later than the Mesopotamian cultures, but as early as the Chinese, if not earlier. and one of these days I'll have to. When I go, I'll have you and Andy come and be my guides.
You'll hear me a lot when I speak to my cousins and even my father. And today, on comes my Indian accent, which honestly I haven't got. I don't realise I'm doing it, but you'll see. It's quite funny. And the same with Egypt as well.
Okay, so you have an Egyptian accent as well as an Indian accent.
Well, I try not to. I try and keep this closed in Egypt.
You could get me out of trouble in Egypt, I think. But having an Indian or Egyptian accent in those countries, I think could help somebody like me not to be mobbed too badly. But I wanted to have you tell about your excitement in your house today.
Oh well, it's this past week. I've been working from home remotely because of COVID-19, and the work had been pretty intense. And I was sitting here. Well, I was actually on the telephone. I've got my work telephone here. I use a headset for that, and I had the headset on and talking to one of my colleagues, and there was a big crash against one of the wall in here. And when I got up to see what it was, thinking, oh my God, what the hell was that? I found that a pot had come from, I'll actually turn it so you can see a little bit. See this door here? Just there, there's another bedroom.
Yeah, that's my room.
No, that's not your room. That's that room, bedroom is the room over the garage. But just opposite that, on the same side that I'm on, is the family bathroom. So in this bedroom, there is, against the far wall, there is a chest of drawers, and I put some pots on there. And what had happened, it had come round the corner there. It flew to the door, come round the corner, and smashed against the wall behind this door here. So it had to fly across around a corner. So of course that got me up straight away. And behind me, I've got a little futon in here, and one of the cats was asleep on there. And over the other side of the house, in one of the front bedrooms, was my other cat asleep on the bed, so nowhere near this door. So that was thrown with force with unseen hands. Now, had it hit me, it would have hurt. So lucky, smashed against the wall and not me. Of course, the person on the other end on the phone on my headset, like, what the hell was that? What's going on, Vivien? And I said, it's all right, I just had a pot thrown at me. And so that went on. Of course, like immediately afterwards, I kept her on the phone, and I sort of did a scan of the whole house to see what was going on. And of course, there's nobody in the house other than me, and I knew that anyway. But you just have to do your own security checks just to know that you feel okay. So that's what I did. And then about 2 days later, I had a plasma ball. Here it is. It's one of these. You can't see it. But...
yeah.
So I had this plasma ball. It's on my window ledge, and it moved an inch on its own. I mean, I was sitting here working, and I heard, the tink, 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 like a tap, like it was something resting. And I didn't know what it was at first, and then realised it was coming from the plasma ball. And I pushed it right up against the side of the windowsill. It actually moved an inch on its own. So that was like quite interesting. Wow. I've also heard footsteps in here, like human footsteps, and I've been the only person in the house. And then about 2 days later, something happened, and I feel it might have been a bit of a warning, like to say this is about to happen. But I don't know. I've still had a little bit I still have activity in the house. Not as much, but it's still going on. And this is during the day. This is not at night. At night, there's nothing happening. It's all during the day.
Yeah, I mean, the whole concept you have to go ghost hunting at night is because that's when they're out is rubbish. I've had far more interaction with beings during the day than at night.
Yes.
Well, I saw the Roman there, or it was a British Roman, Britannia, whatever the word is for it. My language skills have so.
We do have sightings of what did they call Iceni tribe here. They are seen in fields and stuff. So, and don't forget this. I live in what was Boudica's last stronghold. So,
right,
you might have seen. You could have mistaken them from Roman, I suppose, a little bit. Some of them, I don't know, but the Icenes were here.
It was a farm worker, and it looked like tribal people that had, or local people who had adapted Roman ways. Then they were working in a villa complex. It looked like they were part of the staff.
This house was built on what they think might have been a Roman villa, and they did find a beautiful Roman mosaic that was intact and in full colour. Well, I say full colour, it was not bright, but it was in colour, and the builders quickly picked it up, put it in boxes and got rid of it because they wanted to put the houses down pretty quickly. But this house where I'm living in now was on part of the Roman site, so that I found when you saw that was quite interesting.
Yeah, and I don't think I knew about the Roman site until after I had seen the person walking through your living room.
It's quite interesting.
Yeah,
it is interesting.
I love it.
I mean, my house is, it needs investigating because, yes, I'm a ghost hunter, paranormal investigator, and I know some of the history and what is here and what's walking through the house. But I've never really investigated my own home. I mean, how many people out there investigate their own homes? And being that we're all in lockdown at the minute, maybe I should do that,
Well, that's a good way to meet people. Of course, it's a good way to stir up more activity, and then you have trouble making it.
That is. We'll see. Only people I trust can come here.
Yeah, it's fun. That brings up one of the other little bouncing around things I have in my head. Part of what I like about your approach to things is we've got some similar ideas about demons and demonology, and frankly, a lot of rubbish. Most of it is.
Shall I tell people? Shall I? Well, I've been battling with my own faith, if you like, for a little while. I was a Christian spiritualist for many, many, many years, and I started looking along the Wicca pathway, not witchcraft. Let's get this straight, because not all Wiccans are witches, but witches are Wiccans. Go figure. But anyway, I even walked down the Wiccan pathway for a while, and the pagan pathway, and I found that yes, while I can take some spiritualism and I can take some of the pagan pathway, it wasn't for me, because I was finding that, and this is in all walks of life, it's too easy to keep asking for forgiveness. Ask God, he will forgive you. Ask Jesus for forgiveness. Ask this, they will and I got a bit sick of that, and I thought, well, if you do wrong, you need to stand up, hold your hands up and say, yes, I did wrong, and then try and make amends and put it right. And I stumbled across, I don't think the book's here, an Anton LaVey book. And I started reading his life story, and I found this man absolutely intriguing. And I found myself agreeing with a lot of what he had to say. He does all the mediumship and the pomp, and because people want to see that, and they want to see somebody with a shaved head and these really, you know, strong lines and look a bit evil. But that was all. That was all a facade. It was a mask, because that's what people expect from him.
Mm-hmm.
So I started turning to the faith of Satanism. Now, but everyone's going to be like shocked and horrible. Oh my God! Actually, it's not what you think it is. I mean, like with any religion, there are varying levels of Satanism, from your lower levels to your big extremists that want to kill and eat babies and wear all black and you know, that there's a whole myriad.
It's more like different sects, I'd say.
Yeah,
You know,
basically.
yeah.
So I'm very early stages Satanist. A lot of it, sorry about the hair, it's a bit of a mess. I've been out in the rain today. A lot of it is common sense, basically. It's celebrating man. It's celebrating being a human being and knowing right from wrong, and taking stock of yourself, basically, and stop putting your life in the hands of others that could manipulate. Now, I could go into a lot of religions that do that, but I'm not going to do, you know, because it doesn't matter what you believe in, so long as you believe in something, that's your faith. And much to my parents' horror, when I've told them that I'm now a Satanist, but for me, it's very early stages. I'm still finding my feet. I'm still learning. I'm still wanting to learn and understanding, and I'm not going to join a satanic group until I am 100% sure and that they are right for me. And where I live, very pretty few and far between. So my satanic group would be a little bit further afield. I have found one, but I'm not going to give that away just not yet, because they're very secret, you know, and they don't want to put it out there, because Satanists still have a stigmatism, and
Well,
I want to put
people still think it's devil worship, and what you're talking about, to me, is recognizing the humanity and beauty of the human being, and the accountability of the human being as well. But instead of us being this sinful creation that has to be begging for forgiveness all the time, we're whole and we're complete human beings that can be responsible for our own actions.
Well, I told you, William, I want to get a tattoo done, and I'm having a tattoo done here on my neck, and the tattoo is the Leviathan cross. Now, when people see the Leviathan cross, they think that's attuned to a devil. Leviathan is a devil. Actually, Leviathan is the symbol for water, and water is my birth sign. I'm a Piscean, and so the Leviathan cross is coming here because symbol of, just as a symbol of my birth sign. It's one of the elements. So, but then again, this is something can be hidden, you know, unless I want people to see it, they won't know that I've got it. So, no, and it's not that I'm going to start wearing black or start dyeing my hair black and start chanting "Hail Satan" and all that sort of thing. This is not what it's about. They don't understand.
I think it's really fascinating.
That's just something personal for me. So the mediumship with it will still continue. You know, I'm not worshipping devils. So if I do talk about it with individuals and they hear me talking about Leviathan or this or that, you know, it's just the elements, the common sense things, and taking stock of who I am and who other people are, and treating them with the respect that they deserve, sort of thing. So, yeah, that's me. Love it or hate it. It's what I am.
Yeah. Well, and I I think that's fascinating. But actually, the other piece I wanted to talk about is, people think that, oh, this is a demon because it's doing nasty things or bad things, and you have a case or had a case that shows exactly the fallacy of that thinking, and where actually it was backwards what the entity was thinking about you all.
Yeah, there was this extreme case that kept going on and on and on. It went on for years, and it's still happening now, but anyway, that's another story. Anyway, I think I know what you're talking about, a certain part of that case where is a very, very complex haunting. Let me just say that right from the off. And there was more than one entity. It was many and different types of hauntings going on for the same time. So it was very complicated and difficult to understand at first. But about a year and a half into the case, I was there with two others and a friend of the family who was a shaman. And he wanted, because they had visitors to the house, we're waiting for the visitors to go before we did anything. And the shaman had decided that he was going to start doing whatever he was going to do off on his own. He'd already started he shouldn't have done, but he did, which incited other activity. Anyway, the long and short of the story is the entity had jumped into a fellow investigator. The fellow investigator had cuts, like a big, massive cut across his eye here, like that. His side of his face then dropped. It was all full of blood. It was all over his clothes. I mean, at first look at him, I thought he was having a stroke, to be honest. He couldn't talk properly. His speech was all slurred. And then he jumped into talking in this, it wasn't French, not French like I know French, but a bit of a French accent, very, very old language that we couldn't understand. And then through that language, he was trying to talk to us, the actual, my investigator. So he said to me, Vivien, take my glasses. So I took his glasses and he shoved his camera in my hand. Now, he doesn't like giving his camera to anyone. That's his baby. He shoved it in me and he said, take my camera. And then he went into this weird language again. Anyway, it was about, more happened. I won't go into it, but it was a 2.5 hour ordeal. And during that time, we found out that he was a part of the Knights Templar. He gave his name. He thought that we were the devils and he wanted to kill us. He was trying to get to safety. He kept telling us that he wanted to go to Uzziah. He wanted to go to Uzziah. Now, we don't know who Uzziah was or what that was about at the time. It was all like, oh my God, oh my God. But he was trying to get to safe haven, but the building, the place, and the situation with all the other hauntings around it was blocking him. And he saw us as the devil and not himself. I mean, other people would have jumped and said, oh, it's evil, it's this, it's that, it's done this. It wasn't at all. It wasn't the case at all. When you take time to understand what's going on and you take time to converse, he actually wanted to go to a place, but he needed our help to get there. Physically, had to be walked there. After trying to sort of calm the situation down, he realised that we weren't devils and we didn't want to kill him. He already sustained an injury through, basically his helmet would have had a small slit like this, and the sword had gone in through and pierced him, and that's how he died. But my colleague was showing the physical effect of his death with that sword wound, which is why all the blood and all the rest of it. But yeah, we managed to do and to help this poor soldier. I'm going to call him a soldier because that's what he was.
Yeah.
And when it was all said and done, and we threw my colleague a towel and said, "Oh, for God's sake, wipe that blood and snot off your face," and all the rest of it. He wiped his face, took the towel away, nothing, no blood, nothing, all gone. Absolutely amazing. But it just goes to show you, we could have jumped into the situation of thinking that that was evil and he was this thing, whatever it was a demon, a devil, or whatever you want to call it, or out to do harm, when actually the entity thought the same of us. So yeah, don't be too quick to jump to conclusions. You know, if people are getting scratched, it's not necessarily, well, I know it's not going to be a devil. It's not a demon. It could be, there's a whole myriad of reasons why you're getting scratched. Is it an animal? Have you got a ghost dog? If a dog is friendly and you go into somebody's house and they want to know you, they're going to jump up, tail wagging, jumping up, so excited. No, look at me, pet me, pet me. You're going to be scratched. So same with cats. A cat scratch is the most horriblest, itchiest thing in the world. If you get scratched by a cat, I've got to, and I've been scratched by them, and their scratches don't show up straight away. It's only when it starts melting, and then you're wanting to scratch it. It's like, what's that? Oh my God, the cat scratched me, and So again, I implore people, just take a step back, calm yourself down, and find out the situation. What is actually there? What the entity, what does it want from you? Is it just wanting a conversation, or is it asking you for help? You've got to sit down calmly and rationally and find out what things are, which we did. It took us 2.5 hours to get there, but and in that time we did go through health. Certain things that I'm not going to discuss on here happened, but we managed to get there and resolve it. But it was crazy. It was a crazy time, to be honest.
And you're one of the few people that could tell me that story, and I believe it. It's so strange. I mean,
I think I've shown you some of the photographs. I think one or two of them from that time there. I do have pictures of a residual haunting, which is actually a procession. I don't think I showed you that one.
No, I don't think so.
We've got those. There was so much that happened there. But
well, that's part of the joy of living where you live. I've seen and handled human-made objects that go back to 20,000, 30,000 years. They have people back before, in between and before the ice ages. They have human occupation 200,000 years or more on those islands. They weren't islands then, but you've got all of those layers of history, and many of them in the same spot. I mean, part of what I love over there is you can have a house, an old house that's lived in now, that has a few Tudor bones and some Elizabethan pieces, and then you're going into medieval, and then into some Norman, and then the foundations have Anglo-Saxon cellars, and then there's the Roman piece, and then the Iron Age and the Bronze Age and the Neolithic, and all on the same property, all in the same building, or part of the building. And
some of the buildings found here, I think, when they were up for, or there's a hotel not too far away, and they were refurbing the hotel. And when they were moving some of the walls, they decided to take a wall down, and they found it was a mummified cat in the walls bricked up in the walls of one of the rooms in the hotel. That I thought was interesting. There was children's shoes found, actually bricked into the walls. There was another one that was to ward away evil and witchcraft. They put the shoe inside the walls of the building. There's another one.
Right.
It's all like old folklore and things like that, where they were thinking this was a good luck thing, and the mum, if they're putting the cat in the wall, was supposed to ward away against witches, as I don't know. But when you go back even further, with places like Flag Fen, where
Oh,
Flag
yes.
Fen is Flag Fen. Let me tell you what Flag Fen is if you don't know what it is. It's what is it? What would you say it was? It's like a settlement of early man, and at Flag Fen they had built a causeway because it was quite boggy and a lot of water, and so they built this causeway, and the causeway still exists today.
Yeah, and this is what, 20 minutes, 30-minute drive from your house?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And it's some of the wood, which they're doing their best to preserve, is made, oh God, some is oak, some is ash, some is cedar, but the oak is the oldest wood that they found there, which was how many thousands of years old? I can't remember now, but it is older than...
I think it went back to late Neolithic, early Bronze Age, but I'm not quite sure. It was breathtaking. I don't have words for it.
It's an amazing place. It's an amazing place, and it just brings home some of the early man and the early settlers that were around here. But Flag Fen, if you're over here and you get the opportunity to go, you must go and see it. They recently dug up 19 narrowboats, all intact. And I think when I took William there, that they were treating them with wax to try and preserve the wood of the narrowboats. And it takes a long time to treat them. I think it's years of firing this wax all over them. And
the wax, I think, gets into the cells. They take the water out and put the wax in as a way to keep the structure. And it's a fascinating process that they can do. And they've been able to carbon date these things. One of them was named Vivien.
I know. I was honoured.
I must say you hold your age very well. Or, past life.
Been here before.
Yeah. Oh, it's fascinating. In the Fenlands, Flag Fen, Fenlands, those are low areas that used to, now mostly there's drainage and stuff now, but they'd have little hilly places where you could build on and have the settlements, and then you'd have at least part of the year bog and swamp type stuff. With lots of water and streams going through. And boats, I mean, shoot, they were using boats to go back and forth for thousands and thousands of years, even across the ocean. And people, we didn't need aliens to build things. We knew how to do it ourselves. Thank you very much.
I mean, when she was here, this place where I live was a small island, so you would need a boat to get to the Isle of Chatteris. That's where I live. And because it was such a small island, there's all this folklore that there was a lot of inbreeding that happened here. Whether it's true or not, I don't know, but I'm not originally from here, let me just hasten. I'm from London. So.
Yeah. I don't know many people originally from there. I mean, I've gotten to spend a little time there, but even the owners of the pub weren't from there.
No.
And I don't know about how many of the people.
So let me tell you about that pub. Now, that pub is haunted. It has resident ghosts, but in that pub is quite I love it. I think it's so endearing. Oliver Reed was filming somewhere near here, somewhere. I don't know what film it was or what he was doing, but while he was filming these particular scenes, he stayed in one of our local pubs, and he drank the bar dry. Seriously, everything gone. And so he was getting quite rowdy in the pub and saying, well, I want a drink, I want a drink. And they were saying that, there's nothing here. That the guy that owned the pub had to go to the local shops, which are just down the road, and buy all these bottles of alcohol to bring back to the pub because Oliver Reed demanded it. And as much as he was a drunk, and there's no two ways about it, when he was filming, he was always sober. He would never miss the mark. When he wasn't filming, when he finished filming, that's when he would relax and drink and do what Oliver Reed did best. But apparently he was a lovely man when he wasn't drunk, and he was a lovely man when he was drunk. So, yeah, Oliver Reed. God bless his soul.
Yes. I wonder if he's one of the visitors of the pub. One of those that hang out. Yeah. But the landlady was wonderful. I got to go in there a few times. I met you and Andy in there once too, and yeah, I loved it. Yeah.
There's a lot of people in the chat. Oh.
A lot of people what?
A lot of people in the chat. Can I say hello to some of them?
Oh, absolutely.
Paul Mould, I want to say hello, sir. I tell you what, he's such a cool granddad, Paul Mould is. So lots of love to Paul and Gary and Sharon and Sandra and Lucy, I've seen, and Susie. Hi, sis. Jamie, of course. Have I mixed anyone? Jackson Harris.
And Gary. And
Gary.
The low stock witchy tree. Yeah. And my sister is also a Pisces. I mean, my blood sister.
Yeah, well,
I know, but you're both Pisces. But yeah. But the Lowestoft witch's tree, Gary brings up. He thinks that I would love that. You need to tell me about that.
Well, I've got to take William to a lot of places because there are lots of witches trees. The Lowestoft one is quite an amazing one to look at. It's very old, very big. There's oh God, I've got to take you to the pub where there's a grave inside the pub. Hi, Molly. That's why we get on so well together.
Exactly. Yeah. What am I doing? I'm trying to.
I've got to take you to priories. There's priories. I need to take Gary as well. There's a few priories around here. I know that we went to one where the actual abbots or the monks there were accused of practicing black magic and the occult, so they threw them out and set the priory on fire. You've seen that one. Yeah, we've got so much here. The history is crazy here.
Oh, I love it. I mean, this is part of what I love about that island. There are so many other things I love too, and some great people and all kinds of things. But I can just, it's like my jaw drops all the time, and I keep stumbling into past lives. And
well, when you come here, I'm going to take you somewhere. I'm not going to give it away too much, but it has history to do with the Second World War and Winston Churchill. And I was trying to sort this out before lockdown happened with a good friend of mine, Ashley Waterhouse. And because of lockdown and COVID-19 and everything else that happened, we wasn't able to do much more with it. So once COVID-19 has done this thing and we're all back to normal-ish, and we can't do it in winter months, let's say that, because it gets very damp and dingy. But I will take you somewhere. It's not way back in history, but it's a place where not many people know about or have even been. And I think the Americans were there as well at some point, so it'd be
Yeah,
interesting to take you in there
I would like
to
that.
see it, because you've had a bit of interaction already with some British Prime Minister and that hotel we stayed in. Do you
Yes.
remember what happened?
Oh, what happened? I don't. Oh, yes. That one. Yeah, I forgot it was the British Prime Minister, though. Yeah. Yeah, when you wake up and the doors of the closet doors have
Everything's
you watch
open.
them open and different things happen, and we watched one of them open, didn't we? We closed it and just watched it.
Remember, we
And I
closed
checked.
it.
Yeah, and I checked. It was tight. It wasn't one of those that just pop open on its own type of a thing. You find in some of the
And the main door
hotels.
into the room, like from the hallway, was open as well. So that had to be closed very quickly.
Right, right. Yeah.
Do you
And
remember?
yeah, I do. That was a lot of fun. Well, it was a great place
For
too.
you, it may be.
People. Pardon me?
So for you, maybe. I was a bit sort of like, oh my God, what's going on here?
And I'm going like, oh, thank you. It's so nice of you to let us know you're here. I appreciate it. I, I can't help myself. I don't usually jump when I hear the taffeta dress rustle in the church hall underneath the church, like some people I know.
Yeah. I mean,
I mean,
when
I was
things
referring to
take
you.
you by surprise like that, it's you are only human, so yeah, you're going to be sort of a bit like this because
Right.
you're not expecting it. But once you've calmed down and taken stock of the situation and what's happening, it's fine. But
I was just thinking of the parish hall in the church at Port Gamble, and the rustling of skirt material, and a certain British psychic I know that wound up on the laps of Devon and myself pretty quickly, like she
I was
jumped.
scary. No, that was scary. She came too close. Woof, it's all right.
Yeah,
As long as
she
I
was
know
so
it's
close to you.
close. When they're too close, it's like, no, I'm not having it. Don't touch me and don't come too close. Just keep your distance.
Yeah.
A bit like COVID, 2 meters apart distancing, It's the same with spirits. You can come, but not too close.
Exactly. Yeah. But it was funny. And sorry, I have to give you a bad time about it.
I don't care.
Wow. No. What are some of the other you've been doing this, you've been a psychic all of your life, a medium. What are some of the other experiences that you've had that are particularly interesting? And it doesn't have to be England. You've traveled in so many places as an adult, not just living them in as a child.
Oh, okay. I'll tell you a childhood one.
Okay.
It was in 1977, and I know that because I was there when Elvis Presley died. And I remember it was around this time, and I was only very young. I remember that day. Let me just quickly tell you about that day. I remember that day because my mum was crying all day, and my auntie Lulu, my Egyptian auntie Lulu, she was crying all day. And I said to my Uncle Badran, why is Mum and Auntie Lulu crying? And he said, oh, because the king is dead. Of course, I went round all day thinking that one of the pharaohs, there must have been an Egyptian pharaoh that died, and didn't realise it was Elvis Presley. But it was around that time. We was in Cairo, and I remember laying in bed. It was a double bed. There was my mum in the bed, my sister, and then me. And I must have been, I don't know, about 7 years old, maybe a little bit younger. And I remember seeing this bright white light coming through the door. And it was really written on me, brighter than you can imagine bright, like it would hurt your eyes bright. And so I sat up in bed to see this. Like, it was coming through the door, and it came through the door. Of course,
And
then my mum sat. The door was shut.
Yeah, and it was wood.
It was wood.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And it came through the door, and then it started moving across. And as it moved across and came round, and it came round the foot of the bed and walked past the bed and then disappeared through a wall, I saw, which I know now to be a Roman centurion that had his helmet on and, you know, the big,
yeah,
call it the red brushes.
Uh-huh.
He had that on his head. And I remember the sandals and the skirt that he was wearing, and I remember the breastplate. I could see all of that, and his he had a cloak that went from the breastplate. It tied here, and it went down the back. And I remember seeing all of that, and he was holding something in his hand that was quite long, and he had the cuffs on. I remember seeing all of that as clear as day. And as he walked past the bed, he turned and looked at me, at my mother, and my mother grabbed hold of me. And I was just sitting there looking at it, thinking that as a child, I thought how pretty that was, not knowing what I was looking at. I just see this man that glowed so white and beautiful, and he looked at us. I thought he had a funny costume on, and he walked round the bed and disappeared through the wall. Now, once he disappeared and there was no more light, my mum jumped up and ran out of the room and left me there. She ran out of the room, and she was straight to my dad and everybody else, and she woke the whole house up. But I didn't know at the time what I was seeing. I just saw this lovely thing walk past, and it was a Roman centurion in Cairo.
Fantastic.
And at 7 years old, I don't know the relevance. Never knew the relevance. I never knew the relevance until later on in life, when I was at school and learning about the Romans and all, you know, what they conquered, and, you know, and why they were in Egypt in the first place. But yeah, I'm 7. So that was.
Did you pop up in class and say, "Oh, I saw one in the house we were staying in, living in Cairo"?
No, because my childhood wasn't very good. When I was seeing all sorts. By that time, I was seeing all and sundry. You wouldn't believe what I was seeing, but that was one that was really nice. Didn't speak, didn't say anything. He did notice us, so yeah. But yeah, my mum, she only speaks about that now, that she saw him with me. But, yeah. Wow. So that was one. What other significant things have I seen? I've seen loads. I've seen a man without his head. Just happened to be there, but it's just head missing. That one was quite strange. That was around the Windsor area. Windsor is famous for races, and Windsor Castle, the House of Windsor, you know, the royal family. I remember seeing a man in like a lovely park. He had period clothes on. I can't remember now. It was so long ago, but he never had his head, and it wasn't under his arm or anything like that. He was just there without his head. Can't explain it. It still baffles me to this day why his head would just be missing. But
were you seeing this as a medium, or was this a solid apparition, or a physical?
Solid apparition?
Yeah.
Actual solid apparition, and the people I was with saw it as well.
Okay.
What else? I've just seen too much I don't even know what to tell you.
Yeah. No, you've had a lot of it in your life. It's great.
Some of it's been really lucky, because I have seen, you know, in some of the castles and things that we have here in England, and you have fairy tales and folklore and all this sort of thing. I have actually seen things and managed to capture them on camera, because I use my mediumship to be able to guide me as to where I should be going I get told to take the photographs here, and I take shit ton of photographs because I'm listening to spirit telling me, take your pictures here, take your pictures here, and take lots of them. And because when I do, I then get the evidence that I'm looking for to prove. I'm trying to prove, well, I can hear and see spirit myself, but I want you to see it as well. And the only way I can do it is to take all these pictures. So I've been in the Tower of London, and one of the few teams that have investigated some of the Tower of London, let's say, and through mediumship, I've been able to capture full apparitions. A friend I was with, she managed to get pictures of the two princes that were executed, but they weren't executed, they were killed, they were murdered by, they were murdered by Richard III. And this was a week before Richard III's funeral, but they found him in a car park in Leicester.
Right.
And they were interning his body and giving him a state funeral, which I didn't agree with, to be quite honest, because he was just a murderer. And he shouldn't have had that title because he stole it.
All of those kings were murderers in those days.
Yeah, but anyway,
on her hands too.
We were at the Tower of London, and I was having a conversation with Neri, and we were saying how we were disgusted that they were giving Richard III this funeral, and Neri was taking all these pictures, and we saw the place where they found the two boys' bodies. So we'd seen that because they were saying that
they're pretty sure those were the princes. They're not.
Yeah, they're saying it was for definite. It was them. And so anyway, so this was going on, and the yeoman warder who was with us, he thought it was highly amusing, and she was taking pictures and was saying, yeah, no, because the public could have gone to the funeral at Richard III's in Leicester. Are you going? He was asking us, are you going to the funeral? And of course, Neri, being Neri, she puts hands on her hips. No, I bloody well am not. No, I don't agree with that. So I think they showed themselves to Neri. I didn't see them. Both boys showed themselves, but they also had somebody standing behind them. Absolutely amazing. But just talking about history, talking about certain parts of history, certain pieces of history in time, like the boys being murdered, and we was in the place and where their bodies were chucked basically and got rid of. We saw all that, and we were remembering the boys. But we were there a week before this funeral was supposed to take place in Leicester, and we was in London disagreeing with that funeral and how dare he and all this sort of thing. Could have got the boys sort of like, oh, we've got some supporters here.
Mm-hmm. I like it. I like it a lot. And the picture you got of the monk at the monastery or the abbey that you took me to, I picked up a lot of stuff there. And the picture is quite clear.
Yeah, that was one of the places that avoided the dissolution. It avoided being smashed up by Henry VIII and this dissolution of the monasteries because of where it is. And it was on a very small island, so it got forgotten about and nobody knew about it. So it survived. And it was only because of it had a fire and parts of it burnt down. But the rest of it still stands, and the masons have a great deal. They help them restore it. There's parts of it that they can't do anything with, but the monk there, it's got a lovely story. It's a true story of how the monastery, what it was, who it was, how that place came to be. The whole area is just very, very historic. But yeah, it's an amazing story. There's books written about it. It's called Crowland Abbey. And from being a Roman soldier, this guy turned into a monk and lived as a recluse, basically, on a little shabby, wet piece of land, fighting his own demons, and who happened to be good friends of somebody who had nobility that ended up being king. who built his abbey for him. It's an amazing, amazing place.
Yeah, we couldn't get into the church.
No, but sadly, like next time we come, we'll go.
Yeah, and didn't we meet one of the people who takes people in? Was it there or a different place? Because we met a guy that he was studying. He was getting his PhD at Cambridge.
Yeah, I mean, there's guys that do tours of that place. Some guys will take you up, right up into the bell tower. Other guys don't. I tend to go in there with the church warden, who will tell you all about the story of the monk. I'm not going to give you his name. I think if you're interested, you should get the books and look into Crowland.
And the monk's grave is supposed to be off to the side, right?
Yeah. Well, they think he might have been, remains might have been placed there. But what for me I find fascinating is in the graveyard, it has the original kissing gates when they started interning later on in history. They started putting people in graves. And at the very far end of the graveyard in the corner, there's about 4 foot of it's spikes that turn. So you can push the spikes and they still turn to this day, but it's only about 4 foot long, it's wide, 4 foot wide, which still exist, that stop the body snatchers, because there was a lot of body snatching going on around that area at that time. So they put this all the way around the graveyard to stop the body snatchers. And there's only a small portion of it now that still exists, but that's quite interesting to see. And they've tried to preserve it the best they can, so you know it'll be there for many more years to come. But the kissing gate, the I call it spiky thing, it's still there to see.
Yeah. Oh, fascinating. I mean, it was a magical day. But
yeah. And it has a really very strange, the town has a very strange bridge. It's a tricorn bridge. And there was never been a river there, apparently. So this tricorn bridge I find very unusual, and it has the effigy of the patron saint of the abbey there. So, yeah, it's an amazing place. I love it.
Somebody explained the reason and the purpose of the bridge to us, and I don't remember what
I don't remember either.
I think it might have been like that. Pardon me?
Was it muddy or something? I don't know.
I don't remember.
Is it the holy part of the trilogy? Holy Son, Holy Ghost, whatever it is. I can't remember.
I can't even remember enough to take a guess. I have to go back and look at my video notes.
Thank God for video.
Yeah, I mean, it's too slow to write, and it interrupts my own stream when I'm working with entities or seeing things or whatever, or getting the history or anything else. A video, just take the video with it, and that way I've got it. And occasionally there's wind or something that's making it too hard to hear, but Dartmoor is noted for its wind, I find. That really is a strange place.
But Lowestoft has an amazing, I must tell you, Gary took me to Lowestoft, and there was an amazing bridge. They call it the Suicide Bridge. Now, I know you have a lot of suicide bridges in America.
Yeah, but this is 20 miles from me, 15 miles from me.
This is the most prettiest bridge you can imagine, and it's not a bridge over water either. It goes over a part of a motorway, and even up until present day, there are many, many people taking their lives off this bridge. But yeah, I mean, I can take you and show you. It's quite old, and it's Victorian built, I think, if I can remember rightly. Gary, you'll have to tell me if I'm wrong, but yeah, it's an amazing piece of architecture, but it's got a dark history to it as well. So yeah,
the one in Portland that I'm thinking of, it's over a roadway as well. high over it. And they finally had put some netting, I think, off on the side. They've done some things to try to help keep people from being able to jump off of it.
Yeah, it's sad when, I mean, it's a brave thing that people do, you know, because from what I understand of suicide, people that mean to do it actually succeed in it. And it's a brave thing for anybody to do in the first place, you know, to want to end their lives like that, or in any way. A cry for help is a cry for help, but to actually physically mean to end your life, you know, it takes a lot of courage and strength. So, yeah, I would always say to somebody, if you feel that bad, reach out. Always talk to somebody, even somebody you don't know, a stranger, it doesn't matter, but talk to somebody. But even from that suicide bridge, that you still get the essence of the depression and the despair. And sometimes you actually physically see them, that they're hanging around, and I don't understand why. That place I was with Gary, I felt that there would have been people that were still, or entities, spirits that were still hanging around, but I couldn't connect with them. But I don't know if Gary has at any point. But
well, and what
yeah.
I find with every suicide that I've talked to as a medium, they may have some of that energy that's left here, but they don't have it. What, you know, it's that part of themselves that was left in that energy that was here that was so difficult for them, and that can stay some of that here. But they've gone on and are free and thriving and happy and healing.
Yeah.
And who knows, if we choose the life, if we truly choose the life we're born into, I mean, that could have been part of the death that we chose to go with it. I don't know. I'm just saying these are possibilities, and I put this stuff out. In fact, I recycled an old article of mine in the newsletter today about it, because I was seeing in Facebook a lot of different people I know with memories of family or friends who had committed suicide or just had them happen. And so I put it out because it's the people who have taken their lives are doing really well. And we need not to criticize or blame them or ourselves or anything else. But
it's like when you think about in Japan, they have their own dedicated forest where people go to, you know. To me, that, I mean, I know that we've had some silly people go and investigate it and then get really upset when they've come across a body. But to me, the Japanese are showing respect to those that are so despair, so distraught, that have to go and do this sort of thing, that they've got their own designated place that they can go and do it, you know.
Well, a lot of places, a lot of cultures, that was the honorable thing to do when you reach a certain point. You read about it in Shakespeare. You read about it to a certain degree in history in the Roman period. Cleopatra did, you know, it was better to do that than the honorable thing than to be paraded through Rome instead of being, you know.
Exactly.
And so there's a lot of history of being honorable in the practice, is what I'm trying to say.
I'm worried when we get out there in the field again and we're doing what we're doing again, that there might be a little bit, for a period of time, there might be a bit of bombardment. And when I talk about this bombardment, I'm talking about those people that have died very horrible deaths with COVID-19.
Right.
Now, nobody's talking about that right now, when they're all saying, oh, this is shifting, I feel this and I feel that. Well, I'm actually quite worried, because I know that this bombardment is going to come, and it's going to come very quickly when it does come. And that's because I feel that there's going to be a lot of people that have passed into spirit that never got the chance to say goodbye. They died alone. They died with no family members around them, and it will be a case of them wanting to get messages to their loved ones to let them know that they're okay. Now, because of the numbers that are going, and over here it's quite bad. I just feel that there
455,000 a year.
Yeah, there's going to be a bombardment for a while and a bit of a crossover going. So at the minute, yes, we've lost a lot of people, but I've not had that bombardment yet. I'm trying to prepare myself with protection and things like that when it does eventually, but I'm already getting people coming to me and asking me to give them readings, and I had my own health issues that I had to get around, which I'm now coming through the other end. But because I had that to deal with first, I put everything on hold just to get myself sorted. So yeah, like touch wood, I'm okay now, and I'll be able to get back into the spiritual work at some point soon. But yeah, I don't know how you feel about that, William, about this. I think it's coming.
I hadn't thought about it coming. I haven't noticed what people are talking about, but what you're saying makes a lot of sense because we've had so many deaths. And you're right, most of the time people aren't able to be there. Or even if there's a quick goodbye, there isn't all that time at the bedside during the process. And that's really heartbreaking for me. I picture with my parents, and they would have had to lock me up to keep me from being in there to help and make sure they got the care they needed and everything else. Because in this country, even no matter how good the place is, you still have to be very proactive. Hospital in here, not as bad, but all of the rehab and care centers, even the good ones, if you're not on top of it, good luck. And plus, they needed that support and company and everything else. And I needed to be there for the doctor's appointments and such too, and ask questions and have memories. And they would have had to lock me up in jail probably, because I would have followed protocols, but they wouldn't have been able to get me out of there. Not in one piece anyway. So I feel for the families too.
Well, when I come up there to Oregon, I'm trying to come. I had my ticket bought. I was going to come up for the Port Gamble conference and to meet up with Pete and Molly Obia. I love them two to bits. So, both of them, a gorgeous couple. I love them. But sadly, it didn't happen. So I am going to rearrange to come to have a bit of a holiday with William. And when he doesn't know what I'm going to do yet, but when I get there, we are going to do some street psychic work, and I am going to stop people in the street and give them the readings. They'll only be quick 5 minutes. I'm going to get a lot of "sod off, you idiot," or "go away, you fool," but I just think it would be a bit of fun for both William and myself. Last time I was there, we did an evening of clairvoyance in the still house. But this time I'm thinking of taking it to the streets and giving these people just walking past a free taster, like just stopping them. "Excuse me, have you got 5 minutes? I just want to tell you about your Auntie Ida on your mum's side. She's coming here," and whatever comes through, just to give people a bit of what's the word I'm looking for, to make them happy, because it's come from a stranger. They don't know me. I've just stopped them in the street. I don't want anything from them. No money, no nothing. A quick 5 minute. There you go. Have a nice day. And then carry on walking. And I just think we're going to have so much fun doing it.
That might get us locked up in jail faster than my actions if I couldn't have gotten
there are some good-looking police officers over there, so I don't mind, honestly.
That's true. That's true. And sorry, Andy, I tried to keep her safe, but I think that would be great. Molly says thanks. We love you too. And
Oh, bless her. I love that lady.
I do too. Um, there's some really good people around. I mean, I've been lucky. I think.
Sandra, she's another one. Sandra Dunn
Oh,
here over in the UK. That
I'm
lady
sorry I didn't get
is
to spend.
she's so inspirational. Honestly, I can't even thank that lady enough for what she's done for me in the past, and she's given me insights and helped me with. When you get stuck, when you have certain issues with spirit that you're trying to deal with, she's the lady that's actually helped me, not even known it. But that lady, yeah, she's amazing.
She is, and I was sorry I didn't get to spend more time with her.
You will when you come back over.
Yeah, yeah. I need a house over there part-time, folks. So,
I've got a four bed.
we
Listen,
need to set
I've got,
up the
I've got a 4-bedroom house, and we only use one room.
well, yeah, but
Just saying.
yeah, and that can be part. Yep, but I need the living abroad fund started. For my living over there. I'll get it.
I
Andy can help me
told
get a car.
you. I
Pardon
told
me?
you. You get my mum to adopt you, so you
Yes.
officially become her son.
Hmm.
And then on that basis, your family is over here. So then you move here. You
Hmm.
can stay with us until you get on your feet and meet the person of your dreams that you need to settle down with. Make sure that they're rich and famous as well, of course.
Oh, well, with my lack of income these days, that's exactly. I don't care about fame, but money is important because I can't support us both. Um, yeah, no, I think it's a great idea. Although your mom's probably younger than I am, I'm not sure.
No, she's older than you.
Okay, okay, sounds good. I haven't met her yet, but she sounds delightful.
She scares me. She does the hoovering. About 5 o'clock in the morning, the hoover will come out. She'll be hoovering the floor. I said, Mum, what are you doing? She said, I'm cleaning. I said, it's 5 o'clock in the morning. Well, it needs to be done and I'm up, she says. She's a crazy woman.
Well, and you're up now too, so you can help.
No, I love her
uh,
to bits. I
yeah,
wouldn't change it for the world.
no, everything you said has been great, and you know, I can I can see maybe that's part of where the good craziness in you comes from.
I don't know. I think it comes from the Middle East, being in the Middle East a lot, and my mixed heritage. I've seen some lovely sights and some awful sights, both spiritual and of human. Um, I've seen some stuff that makes me really happy and stuff that's really made me sad. I saw my first possessed person in India. Um, Crazy times that was. Um, and again, as a child, not understanding it and not knowing it. Even
Right.
with animals in India, like my dad's best friend got bitten by a king cobra and died within 15 minutes. And yet I've seen cobras out in the wild and in the back garden, and have even sat and played with their eggs and thought that they were amazing animals. So, yeah, I still sometimes have a hard time. I mean, I accept things the way that they are, but I can't understand sometimes people's actions, which comes
Right.
back to my faith again, like trying to understand what faith was all about, and coming to that crossroads, and loving it and hating it. I still love God and still believe in God, but my gut feeling, my pull is towards like just accepting and having responsibility for your own actions.
Right.
So it's been a really hard time with me, and with the shift and everything that's happened with COVID, and people, the way people are and how we are with each other, and not liking your fellow man and not having any regard for them, and always putting yourself first and putting yourself out, and all this narcissism that's out there. It's it's got to stop, and yeah, it has to start with me, and that's now the pathway that I'm taking. So it's
I
interesting.
think that's beautiful. Excuse me, it's not COVID that I cough. I think that's beautiful, and you're
No,
right. I agree.
William has got COVID. He's got mad cows disease.
Mad house, mad cows.
Mad
Yeah.
cows. That's me.
Well, I mean, you've had you know, you talk about getting up in the middle, to see about the footsteps. I've more than once gotten up out of bed to see who was walking around the
Oh,
living room, and
your house
no,
is
but
crazy. Your house
I
is
know,
crazy. It's worse than this one.
I know,
Being
but it,
shaken awake.
huh, that's true. That oh well, I like it. No, it's wow. We've been on for an hour and 20 minutes. I usually try to
Already.
keep them for an hour so people don't get bored. Um, Hopefully nobody was. I think we'll go ahead and close this down for tonight, and I will have Vivien back again, and soon, hopefully this fall. Her trip over here has been changed 3 times, or will be changed 3 times. Mine overseas have been changed 3 times. I'm I'm rather tired of all of this nonsense. It's not nonsense, and it's very important to people's lives, but um, we just do the best we can with what we've got. But we'll get there. So, Vivien, I can't thank you enough, and
Thank you.
you're welcome. And for everybody who's written in and everything, it's great, and it's so good to see all my friends over there writing, as well as friends over here. Yeah,
Everybody.
and we'll be back again. We'll be back again soon. Vivien will be back. So take care.